Here we are again, talking about Zelda. For today's video, I wanted to take a look at the entire Zelda series, but fast. I'll be reviewing every Zelda game, remakes included, in 20 seconds or less. Spoiler free, not that it matters in 20 seconds. Before we begin, a quick but massive thank you to all subscribers and the supporters on Patreon and YouTube for helping me keep the channel alive. Stay with me until the end to find out how you can support the channel as well. So let's begin. Zelda, take the wheel. Man, this game is cryptic and there's like no story. I'm just a green adventurer dude trying to save a princess from an evil pig monster. A bit too much in the aimless wandering, but a solid foundation, and also it kinda started the series, so I guess that's good. Solid 7 out of 10. Tried to be different, tried to be too many things at once. Wanted to be an action game, so we got a side-scroller, but it also wanted to be an RPG, so we got level ups, experiences, grinding, MP, stats. This is what you play Zelda for, right? No? Well, crap. 4 out of 10, but I do understand the people who like it. It's just not for me. Starts many Zelda conventions, actual story, partially linear but mostly open-ended game design. The Master Sword begins here. I can't get used to the hitboxes in this one and rarely ever go back to this game, but it's so good and I don't really know why I never do. This one can be considered the real start of the series as we know it. 8 out of 10. You know how Western Mario 2 isn't the real Mario 2 and instead we got a different game as Mario 2 and then later we got the Lost Levels? This game feels like it could have been Zelda The Lost Levels while we got a different game as our Zelda 2. Completely experimental, oddly difficult at times, incredibly linear, placed like a true middle ground between Zelda 1 and Link to the Past. Koholint Island is a world with a lot to explore despite being much smaller than practically any other Zelda game. Item management sucks. 6 out of 10. The series is magnum opus and one that shaped the Zelda series for years to come. It's insane to think just how well they managed to get things right on the first attempt at a 3D action-adventure game. The story is just simple enough for it to be relatable to loads of people, and the gameplay and graphics were phenomenal for its time. The game is designed to be a more linear experience with a response with fuck it, do whatever more often than not if you decide to take things out of the intended order. 9 out of 10. Link's Awakening, but it is in color. It is not much deeper than that. Still a 6 out of 10 because it still has the exact same flaws. Developed in about a year's worth of time, the game reuses a lot of assets but also includes 3 new playable characters. The vibe of this game is wildly different and you can easily tell that the people working on it had a field day putting things in here that didn't get checked nearly as thoroughly. How else we have a Zelda game where a hand comes out of a stained toilet to ask for paper past midnight? Stressful time mechanic that's necessary for everything in the game to come together so naturally. This game taught me time management as a 9-year-old only for me to never use these skills again. 10 out of 10. The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages inherits the same gameplay DNA as Link's Awakening, with it being a shorter adventure but coming after the N64 titles. The story is a bit more grounded and serious despite being on the Game Boy, with a core mechanic that overall affects the whole world to solve puzzles. It feels like a more fleshed out take on the time travel mechanic present in Ocarina of Time. Genuinely impressive, but once again the controls make it so that I never really play these. 7 out of 10. The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons inherits the same gameplay DNA as Link's Awakening, with it being a shorter adventure but coming after the N64 titles. The story is a bit more grounded and serious despite being on the Game Boy, with a core mechanic that overall affects the whole world to solve puzzles. It feels like a more fleshed out take on the time travel mechanic present in Ocarina of Time. Genuinely impressive, but once again the controls make it so that I never really play these. 7 out of 10. Adds Link's Ocarina of Time screams to Link to the Past. This is actually how I played Link to the Past the first time, even though I was using an emulator and could have just played the SNES version. It's a long story. This version is technically the definitive version for the West. It's got a better retranslation and adds extra content. I hardly see anyone talking about it though. 8 out of 10. Still solid, but he does need to stop screaming. A fun little side game that introduced multiplayer to the world of Zelda dungeon crawling, something that they rarely try and even more rarely actually succeed in. Just a side game, but still good for a bit of fun. Shame nobody played this as it was multiplayer only and required a game for each player. 5 out of 10. Pirate Zelda Adventures. This is the start of Nintendo experimenting with making Link more of a character rather than being a fully mute self-insert. Kind of drags in places though, but I still love it. My fondest memory of this game on GameCube is being corrected by my mom when I misread the title of the game in the magazine as The Wind Awake. Yep, I'm an idiot. 8 out of 10. Master Quest copies the general layout of Ocarina of Time, but remixes it with different puzzles and dungeons. Some of these new puzzles are really good, some of them are honestly really bad. Like lighting a torch hidden behind the wall in the water temple with Din's fire, bad. I never enjoy playing through Master Quest, even though Ocarina of Time is one of my favorite games and this should technically cater to me the most, 4 out of 10. The second Zelda game on GameCube and the one that stuck with me the longest because I never got to play it. Turns out that locking multiplayer behind every player having an additional handheld console of their own was a stupid move. I'm still waiting for this to get an offline remake because as it stands it's pretty much unplayable. If it were playable however, the game has some fun level design and while it's not anything you'd expect from a Zelda game, it's still good fun, 6 out of 10. Easily the most underrated Zelda game. I love that this game gives Forza an origin story, which is great because 2 other games used it. I used to play it over and over on my Game Boy player because to me it was a GameCube Zelda like no other. Of course it wasn't an actual GameCube game, but back then and even now I feel like Minish Cap can easily stand tall with some of the Zelda greats. If you take anything from this list, it's that you should go out of your way to play Minish Cap. Games don't suck. 9 out of 10. And just, why doesn't this game include the Four Swords side game as well? Twilight Princess is a game many people love and many people love to hate. Myself, I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really like it that much because it has some things that take me out of the experience. Graphics didn't age the well, and I don't like how closely it retreads Ocarina of Time, but dang it if Midna and Link in this one aren't some of the most well-designed characters in the series. They were onto something. Oh, and this game helped kickstart the Wii craze, so that should score at least some points. 7 out of 10. Phantom Hourglass is an underrated little game where the limited graphics turns Link's hands into potatoes. The Seafaring of Wind Waker adapted itself well to the DS and the touchscreen, and love them or hate them, the touchscreen controls were odd, not bad. This game has the puzzle where you have to close the DS to advance the game, and it's not even spelled out. It just says to press the maps together and it works so well. That being said, Temple of the Ocean King, love it or hate it, 7 out of 10. This Zelda game took being a narrative on rails a little too literally. Most side quests revolve around the train, and the train, I'm sorry, the train isn't too fun to control to me. Also, the flute was a hellscape and a half because I'm asthmatic and the DS mic sucks. It's got one of the best Link Zelda dynamics though, if not the best. That alone elevates it to an 8 out of 10. Fight me. Ocarina of Time 3D is just as amazing as Ocarina of Time because it just is Ocarina of Time painted over with new models and textures. Makes some good gameplay improvements like the boots being items as they are in Wind Waker for the sole purpose of making the water temple less tedious. 8 out of 10 because of extremely minor nitpicks that I do not have time for. A small side release developed as a freebie for a Zelda anniversary. This game added extra levels and no online play to a game that desperately needed it. At least this time they added a single player mode. It's still not great to play. 6 out of 10. Skyward Sword, the game that made me aware of the Zelda cycle. I always knew the day would come where people would tell me Skyward Sword is good actually. And you know what? Yeah, it's definitely a good game. I don't care for Skyward Sword. I don't like going back to the same zone constantly, and at least when other games did it, they made changes. Every time I go back to Skyloft, I dread it because of that stupid bird. Timelines, whatever. Reminder that these scores are my own opinion. 5 out of 10. It's Wind Waker, but it removed a bunch of the tedious stuff at the end game. I was old enough to not misread the title of the game this time. 8 out of 10. A Link Between Worlds is a game where the general opinion on it being good is split, and I don't understand why, because this game rocks! It gave rupees a purpose, it has such great dungeons, the painting morphing mechanic was amazing. If there's any top-down Zelda game I'd give a 10 out of 10, it's this one. Oh, Hyrule Warriors, you weren't just a gateway drug for Nintendo and Zelda fans to get into Warriors games. You made Nintendo realize that hanging out with Koei Tecmo and letting them make a Warriors game from time to time with your property was an excellent way to pad out the release calendar for a year. And you know something? You got me. I bought all the Warriors games except Fire Emblem Three Hopes, and it was because Hyrule Warriors was amazing enough that I got suckered into it. 8 out of 10, but I hate you for it, just so you know. The absolute disgust I feel towards Majora's Mask 3D cannot be understated. Majora's Mask 3D is proof that the original game coming out as well as it did was a fluke. It's impressive how changing a few things can change the game for the worse. There are things I prefer in Majora's Mask 3D over the original for sure, like the Deku Bubble attack being just so much faster. Yet in their quest to oversimplify everything in the name of accessibility, they destroyed what makes Majora's Mask a great experience that I'll never truly be able to relive. 5 out of 10. A multiplayer game not unlike Four Sword Adventures, this one doesn't have a serious plot at all and very blatantly reuses assets from A Link Between Worlds to create its levels, but I kinda like it. I like multiplayer co-op games, we need more of them. I'd replay this in a heartbeat, and I better hurry because the servers are gonna go down soon. Oh, 7 out of 10. Look, I love this one, but even I can see that this one has some big flaws. They removed some tiers of light and rendered the game in a higher resolution. $60, 6 out of 10 because it kept crashing on me and I honestly never got over that. And I feel like I'm the only one who had these issues too, like nobody else did, and I feel like me and Twilight Princess is just a very cursed experience and I cannot explain it, and my 20 seconds are up, so there we go. We made it to the open world. This game was such a massive undertaking, such a massive hit, and it felt so different compared to literally anything I'd played before then. The world felt almost real. Breath of the Wild had been the most I'd ever been immersed into a video game world up until then. Right until the Blood Moon took me out of it over and over and over and over. Hundreds of hours spent just wandering the lands, finding little secrets. The story was secretly really good, just the same as spoiler the ending before watching the beginning just by playing the game. 9 out of 10. Okay, so I kinda have to admit that I haven't played this one yet because I keep meaning to, but then something I get distracted and I don't. I'll give the music a solid 10 out of 10 though. So you know how Link's Awakening was like really good? So imagine Link's Awakening, but you have 4 face buttons instead of 2 and also 2 shoulder buttons. Suddenly the game goes from being a game where you're constantly managing inventory to a game where you basically never have to open your inventory because nearly everything has a default button assignment. Suddenly you can just focus on how good Link's Awakening is. And did they really have to make the game music so good? Oh my god, we need more top-down remakes like this. 9 out of 10 because I'm feeling heckin' generous. I hate this one. It advertised itself as a prequel. It was an alternate universe time travel fanfic that made no sense. It was kind of annoying and laggy. I wish it wasn't so laggy, because maybe the unstable FPS-induced headaches play a factor in my disdain for the game. Hopefully I'll be able to replay it on the Switch too, with the backwards compatibility feature that it will totally have, right? Please age well, please. Alright, 4 out of 10. Skyward Sword again, huh? Well, it still has the same things I hated before. It was never the motion controls for me, it was just Skyward Sword being Skyward Sword. In that sense, the HD game isn't different. Again, reminder that these scores are my own opinion. 5 out of 10. How do you improve on Breath of the Wild? By just copying and adding to it, I guess. A good strategy, to be fair. Building stuff was fun, though I was never super into it. I didn't go into engineering or anything. How do you think I ended up in YouTube? I can't even do that right. Although for as amazing as this game can feel, I also can't shake the feeling that sometimes it feels cobbled together. Like these things don't belong together and weren't well thought out. Hard to put into short words, so I'll just say it's still 9 out of 10. Sorry, Tears. I know you're expecting a 10, but that's just not gonna happen. And that's every Zelda game, except the Tingle games. I haven't played Tingle yet. Sorry. Do you agree with me on these? Disagree? Did I miss anything? Please tell me I haven't missed anything. This ended up being far longer than I intended it to be. Since you're still here, why don't you subscribe? It's free, so I can't recommend it enough. Extra special shoutouts to the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting the channel, and check the links in the description if you feel like becoming another name on this wall. It's cozy up there, and it really helps me out.